Hello and welcome to Prudent Media. My name is Sachin Chatte and on this program we take a look at the latest releases. Today we will review The Holdovers, which has been nominated for 5 Oscars, and we'll also take a look at the Bob Marley biopic called One Love. First, let's take a look at The Holdovers. With films like About Schmidt, Sideways, The Descendants and Nebraska, director Alexander Payne has made a name for himself as one of the better contemporary American directors whose films have characters with a soul, a cinematic soul that is. They are also enigmatic characters and Payne knows how to tell stories about human nature. His last film Downsizing was a bit of a letdown, but he is back again and in terrific form. The Holdovers has Payne at the top of his game as a director, and it also features one of the most talented actors of the generation, Paul Giamatti. Deservingly so, he has been nominated for the second time at the Oscars, and the film has got 5 nominations in all, including Best Picture and Best Original Screenplay. There have been a bunch of films based on teacher and student interaction. It is not exactly novel territory. Yet Alexander Payne has managed to pull a rabbit out of the hat with the treatment of the film. The film is set in the 70s, and how it starts with the studio logo coming up the old-fashioned way, you might think that you are watching a film that was made during that era. Paul Giamatti plays Paul Hunham, who is a teacher of history at the prestigious Barton School where children of the rich and famous come to study. Hunham is a bit of a cynic in his attitude towards the students, and the dislike for each other is mutual. But he knows his subject better than anyone else, and he is good at insulting the students in a fairly clever fashion. But otherwise, he is an unbearable teacher. As Christmas approaches, Hunham is looking to spend some time alone and enjoy the winter break in his own quiet way. But there is a spanner in the works when the headmaster leaves him with some students because they can't go home during the winter break. They are the Holdovers. That's Angus, played by Dominic Sessa, whose mother insists that he should not come home because she is going on a honeymoon with his new stepfather. The last thing any student wants is to be left behind during Christmas, and worse, to be left in the company of a teacher like Hunham. That is where the film starts opening up, and it casts its net far and wide, especially when it comes to human nature and emotions. The kitchen manager is Mary, played by VineJoyRandolph, and she is one of the few people with whom Hunham speaks to respectfully and with some kind of empathy. Her son Curtis, even though he graduated from Barton, had to enlist and was killed in the war. Gradually, we learn more about the trio and we start liking them with every passing minute. At one time, you wish upon no one a teacher like Hunham, but in the end, you wish you had met a person like him. Mary, on the other hand, is dealing with 2 white males who are contrasting characters, and she seems to have a good understanding of their nature. A story like this could have easily tipped over into the sloppy sentimental category, but instead it comes out on top and in style. The soundtrack has songs that are effectively used, like The Wind by Cat Stevens, and Paul Giamatti deserves all the accolades and more for his outstanding performance. The film has elements of pain, nostalgia, loneliness, and a gamut of other emotions, and yet it is an extremely warm film. The kind of warmth you haven't felt at the cinemas in a while. I'm going to go with 4 out of 5 stars for the new film called The Holdovers by Alexander Payne. And now let's take a look at the Bob Marley biopic, One Love. Now, there can be no disagreement about the greatness of Bob Marley's music, which has and will stand the test of time. So the good thing about this family-approved biopic of Bob Marley is that you get to hear many popular songs. Kingsley Ben-Adir also puts up an A-grade act as the king of Rasta. The story has all the ingredients to make an interesting biopic like Rocket Man on Elton John or Bohemian Rhapsody on Queen. Instead, One Love turns out to be a dull affair that doesn't quite stir it up. As the credits suggest, even the extended Marley family was involved in the making of this film, which turns out to be a hagiography directed by Reynaldo Marcus Green. Marley was more than just a singer and songwriter. Even when he died at 36, he was already an icon back then, and over the years, his legacy has only grown. But the screenplay of this film is a bit scattered. There is a bit of this, a bit of that, then this happened, and now let's play a song and move on to the next episode. It has that kind of an approach. The film is restricted to a couple of years of Marley's life from 1976 to 1978. The opening slate tells us about the conflict going on in Jamaica between two warring factions, leading to unabated violence. Even though it is set in a period when there was a lot happening politically and his involvement in everything that was happening around him. The cult classic album Catch a Fire was already released back then, and so was Burning. The film uses flashbacks to mention some of the songs and incidents in his life, but it plays it by the numbers without any conviction. For instance, the scene early in their career where the Wailers, that's Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Bunny Wailer and the rest of them, sing an inspirational version of Simmer Down in a studio in Kingston to impress a music producer, that is perhaps the most memorable scene in the film, but otherwise a lot of it is drab. Now, as his popularity grew, Marley went to London where he recorded another classic album, Exodus. But then again, most of it is dry because the film lacks focus. Take the picturization of the song Jamming for example. It starts with Bob Marley playing football of all things before it cuts to the studio and then the recording. If at all, it should have been the other way around. Lashana Lynch, whom we saw in a Bond film, plays Rita Marley and brings a certain grace to her character. There are moments of conflict between her and Bob which show that she was also a woman who could give it back to him. There is a brief mention of his indiscretions. He had children with other women as well, but it is all mentioned in passing. Our censor board dutifully informs us during the whole film that smoking kills. And since Rastafarians didn't just smoke tobacco, there is a permanent banner on the screen that says consumption of drugs and alcohol is injurious to health. With so much great music on hand, you would expect the film to end on a high, but it falters there as well. Bob Marley effectively deserved more than just this one love. I'm going to go with 2 out of 5 stars for this Bob Marley biopic. Well, that's what I thought of the films that were released this week, and I'll be back with you next week with more movie reviews. Till then, it's goodbye from me.